Okay, hi boys. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make Rough Tuff pastry, which again is a high skill deemed by the exam board. It does take quite a long time, this one, so you need to be thinking about doing something while you're waiting, because there's a lot of waiting around for the pastry to chill in the fridge. So you start off by sieving flour and salt, just like we did when we made short crust pastry. I'm only doing half quantities because I've already made some, so I don't really actually need this pastry at all. So sieve flour and salt into a bowl, just like we did last time. Push it through if you need to. And then you're going to use an awful lot of butter. You actually use more butter than flour for this recipe, so it's really unhealthy. You want to have cut the butter into sort of small, sort of like, I suppose that's about 2 centimetre cubes. But then you want to try and let it come out of the fridge for a little bit, so that it's a bit softer than obviously the texture of it in the fridge. You want it to be just slightly softer. You pop all of that butter in, and then with a round knife you just sort of coat the butter. So this time we're not rubbing in at all, so you're just sort of coating round, making sure that butter has got obviously flour around it. You then are going to get water, and it's supposed to be ice cold water. So what I did before this demo is put that water in the fridge, and you can add all of that and quickly work with it so that the butter's not too long, obviously, before it's going back in the fridge. So move all of that round. You should end up then with a very bumpy, lumpy dough. And then just get your hands in to bring that into a big ball. Okay, you then wrap that in cling film, and we rest that in the fridge for about 15 minutes. We're basically trying to make sure that that butter is not too soft, because we want the butter to remain quite hard so that we get layers in our pastry. So that's going to be chilled for about 15 minutes, all right? And then obviously I'm going to get that back out. So we'll do that obviously all hopefully edited out for you. Okay, so pastry's had 15 minutes of chilling, so we're going to get it out. You'll need to have some flour down to roll out, and you will remember this technique a little bit from our flaky pastry, when we made flaky pastry in term 1 of year 9, because you have to wrap the pastry like you did then. So we're going to try and roll it. There will be bumpy because of the lumps of butter, don't worry about that, but we're going to try and roll it out as a rectangle, and your rectangle roughly, and don't get too worried about this, but roughly needs to be about 45 centimetres by 15, so 45, 15, but it really doesn't matter too much if it's not, it's that, so don't start panicking. You only want to try and roll out once. If the butter starts to leak out, just sort of push it back in. Mine won't be anywhere near as big as yours, because remember I've done half quantities, so I'm just going to roll mine out as much as I can, because you'll see that in true Blue Peter style I've done one already to show you. Alright, so I'm going to roll, 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 try and keep it as rectangular as possible. Remember, just use your hands to guide it, and then when you think you've got it to roughly 45 by 15, then you stop. Okay, and then this is what you should remember, is you fold in like that, and then you fold over. Okay, you then push down with your edges, because then that reminds you that the next time when it comes out, where you've pushed down here and here, you're going to turn it that way. So because you've just rolled that way, now we want to turn it next time and roll it this way. So that goes and then wrapped up in cling film again. And then you chill that for 20 minutes. Which is where all the time is in this making of rough puff pastry. It's basically, it's all the rolling and then chilling that you have to wait for. All right, so that's going into the fridge for 15 to 20 minutes. Okay, and this is where I've already done, and this is where I have got the full quantity now. I have done that rolling out 3 times already with this piece of pastry. So, if you can imagine, it's come out of the fridge, you've bookended it, so this is bits here, all right? So you're going to make sure that you don't roll it out that way again. You're going with the, obviously, flattened down. And each time you roll out, you're just basically rolling to a rectangle, roughly 45 by 15. Okay. Which I think that's about right. Might be a bit longer. That's it. And then you fold back in, so over and over, and then you seal it there and there, and you wrap up. All right. So I have done with this piece of pastry dough, that is now its 4th roll and fold. And ideally, I'd put that back in for another 20 minutes, but I don't want to cause too much editing for my son to do. So I'm going to pretend that that's been in again for another 20 minutes. All right. And then we're going to just treat it like normal pastry then. I have not really told you what to make with this. The slide that I'll be showing you has some ideas. You can do absolutely whatever you want. If you Google puff pastry, loads of ideas will come up. So you can go with anything that your family fancy. You can do sweet or you can do savoury, so it's up to you what you want to do. A little bit of science about why we've done all that folding, all right? Basically, we've got big lumps of butter that hopefully, as you've been folding through, you've basically been doing something called laminating. And basically, the butter, if I cut this pastry open, you should see loads and loads and loads of layers. And then when the butter obviously starts to warm up in the oven, we create pockets of air, and that's why then it puffs up. So we're going to have loads of layers that we see in our pastry, and that's called lamination. And we'll also have obviously the air, basically steam from the butter melting, popping up the pastry. All right. So 2 things I'm going to show you today. One is really simple. All right. This is it doesn't look very nice, but it's basically loads of cooked fruit that I had in my freezer actually, and I'm going to just make a lid for this. There's no point really if you're making a fruit pie, putting the pastry underneath, because you'll lose all the puff, because obviously it's too heavy a mixture. So you want it to be sort of just as a lid for things like this. So one bit of advice, you don't want to put warm things into your pastry because it will start melting the butter before it goes in the oven. So you want to make sure that any filling, so if you want to do a Cornish pasty, for example, I think Jago was talking about that, you would want obviously the filling of the Cornish pasty to be cold. Same with anything else, all right, that you want to do. So this is really cold, this fruit. So I know obviously then I need a circle. So I'm going to start now rolling this out, not as a rectangle now, but obviously is a big square. Make sure that you flour if you need to. Make sure like when we were doing short crust pastry, just move it round, check that you are not making it stick to the surface. You want to roll out roughly, they say, to the thickness of a 1 centimetre coin. I'm going to roll just a slight bit bigger than that because I want to save some of this, hopefully, for my other thing that I just wanted to show you if you wanted to shape into something else. So I'm going just maybe a little bit thinner than the size of a 1p coin, just so I've got some left over. So I can see there that I've got a good lid there. So I'm going to just cut off what I want for my other one, so that I've got a perfect nice little rectangle in a minute for that. And then this hopefully is going to fit on the top there. Like that. Now you can be really nice and do like crimped edges in a minute, but I'll just fold that over. You'll need to get a knife and cut round there. Set that, and then push that down onto your fruit. It could be a meat pie that you've done, anything basically, and that should have a lovely puff later on. You can decorate it. I'm going to just be quick, obviously, with mine. You can, if you want to, crimp. It's a bit hard when it's tucked inside, but you can push up the edges a little bit to crimp them up, to have a bit more of a, can you see, oh, got right there, but you could crimp up the whole thing if you wanted to by just pushing the two pieces of pastry together. So you can do a nice pattern if you want to. All right. So that's that one. And just before I put that one in the oven, you probably want to glaze. You can glaze with milk, but I've gone a little bit crazy, COVID crazy, and put some egg yolk just to get a nicer sort of brown colour. All right. And then that should really puff up. You want a hot oven, gas mark 6, 210, so that it puffs up. So that's going in. Okay, and then the other thing is, a lot of you will remember when we did flaky pastry that you can obviously shape it into pasties, or obviously into turnovers, or into sausage rolls. So I'm just going to make this slightly bigger, so it's just a bit wider. So if you want to do a Cornish pasty, you can cut a circle. Just depends on the size, obviously, if what you want. Just pick, obviously, some kind of circle of the shape. This one might be a massive pasty. And then, oh, I haven't quite cut through there. There we are. I'm going to save that bit for my sausage roll in a minute. And then I have only just got sausage meat, just something simple, but obviously you can look for recipes for anything. So this is just sausage meat. Literally, I just took the skin off sausages. So I'm going to put that in the middle. And don't know if that's quite, no, maybe a bit too much. No, I'm not doing a video, sweetheart. You'd have to ask Daddy. Bring that over then, and then push to seal it together. So you don't really want a really soggy filling because it will just ooze out. So sausage meat works really well, and obviously you can do Cornish pasties. They use a lot of potato to try and soak up the liquid with Cornish pasties. You can do cheese and onion ones, but they do really thick like cheese sauce for that. So that's the Cornish pasty. So literally just a circle, bring up to the middle, and then sort of crimp round. And then the other one that you could do, which lots of you were, it was popular when we did flaky pastry in year 9, is you can do sausage rolls. So obviously I've only got a little tiny bit left here, but you can have a rectangle. You can have it as long as you want to, really. And then the sausage meat goes in just slightly over to the right, but not too much. Like that. And then that goes over to the other edge. and then you should find that you can just about push the two edges together. You don't want loads of pastry left because that's obviously, it does taste nice, but you don't want it to be, but like that. We're going to push that down in a minute with a fork just so that it really seals. So got like that. Get a fork. Really push those two sides together now so that you get a nice pattern, but also those two edges then shouldn't come apart. And then I normally use a bread knife to separate my sausage roll because you don't then damage as you cut. If you try and use something blunt or even a veg knife, it sort of squashes the shape of the sausage roll. So do like a little sawing action. I'm just going to do 3 here, I can see. So a little sawing action, that rolling pin there, like that. Have I done it? I should have put this on the surface, like that. So you've got 3 little sausage rolls that I'm going to do as well. They could be rustic, more rustic than that if you wanted them to be. The other thing I normally do once I've made them is just then cut with a veg knife or a sharp knife, little cuts on the top, and that just makes them look a little bit prettier as well. And then again, just going to glaze those for a nice golden brown finish. Okay, with obviously sausage rolls and anything with raw meat, you do need to be careful that if the pastry looks cooked, you still got to check that your filling's cooked. Obviously at school we've got temperature probes, but I don't know about you, but I don't have a temperature probe at home, so you will have to maybe just sacrifice one, you know, when you think it's done. They take about 25 minutes, sausage rolls, I would say. But it's kind of like just sort of looking. So those are my Cornish pasty, my sausage rolls. They're going in for about 20-25 minutes, and you're looking for a nice golden brown. You'll see a really, hopefully, good puff when they come out. And that's it. I'll show you them when they're all cooked. Okay then, boys, so that's all of those out. This one's came out a bit earlier, so it's a bit sunken, but if I just move and just show you now, that you should be able to see loads and loads of layers.